Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Misaligned Mayhem. I'm your host, Camden Hess, and this week we will be talking about all things Marvel Comics, the MCU, all the likes. We're gonna go crazy today. But before we get started, I have some wonderful guests with me today. First off, I have the wonderful Brendan Hess, also known as the TheHessianArmy. You can find his stuff on Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter. I also have with me Gerald, who also known as TRUExSEN. You can find his content on YouTube and Twitter. And with us, we have another guest, very special guest. We have Bailey. That is all the introduction she needed. All right, everybody say hi.
Hello. Hola. Hello. Shalom.
All right. So to kick this podcast off with a good kick, I have a question for all of you. What is your favorite Marvel movie? And I'm not going to limit it to the MCU. This can be any Marvel movie that has ever existed. X-Men, Fantastic Four, doesn't matter. What is your favorite Marvel movie?
You two can go first.
I have no idea. I'm gonna be honest.
You have no idea. Well, what Marvel movie stands out to you the most then?
Mine's Endgame.
Is it? All right.
Okay.
We'll go with
Solid
Endgame.
choice.
We'll go with Endgame. Solid choice.
Ooh, maybe Venom.
Very
I got a
interesting
strong
choice.
will. She is strong will. You don't belong. I think we'll get into Venom later, but like for me, I have to choose between my personal favorite as being Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I love that movie, but I also have that and I have Age of Ultron.
Age of Ultron's really good.
I personally, that is my favorite Avengers movie out of the 4 that exist. So,
Wow.
all right, Brendan, Marvel nerd, what do you got for us as your favorite movie?
My favorite is easily Infinity War.
I honestly, that is a great. That is I'm like, I'm not gonna. That's all I gotta say is I'm not gonna disagree with that, because I think Infinity War is definitely a good a movie with that. I'm just gonna agree with you. There's nothing more to say to that, because I think Infinity War, there's always something happening in the movie. Like you're never bored. There's no like everything makes like keeps you on your seat, and you're always like you're ready for it, right? That's just what that is. So I should pull up my topics thing so I know what we're talking about. I mean, while we're on the subject of the MCU, what is everybody's experience with the MCU? How long have you been a Marvel fan? Was it because of the MCU you became a Marvel fan? Was it what was it? What was your
X-Men.
Was it the X-Men?
Just because of one character alone, and that'd be Beast.
Really?
I don't know. Like, remember the original X-Men cartoon?
Yeah, really.
I used to watch that, and Beast was always my favorite, and that's what pretty much got me into Marvel and Spider-Man and all that stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it was probably the first MCU movie that I watched was the Thor movie, and I've been ever since then. I've been like hooked on the MCU Marvel.
Was it the first Thor movie?
Because we didn't watch the first 2 Iron Man movies in theaters.
You're right, but like we were first introduced to the whole idea about end credit scenes with the second Iron Man movie, because they put in the Thor's hammer at the end credit scene, and we're like, what the heck is that?
Did they?
Yeah. Both the first Iron Man had an end credit scene with Nick Fury showing up.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk with you about the Avengers Initiative.
Avengers Edition.
And then all the fanboys that weren't me were screaming.
Yeah.
But
How old were
I
you
didn't
at the
know
time?
Thor.
You had to have been
I
like
didn't-
10 years old.
10 years old. I wouldn't have known. I would have been like,
you wouldn't
what
have
the hell
known.
are the Avengers?
What the hell are the Avengers?
Could you imagine that? Could you imagine me thinking like that when I was 10 years old?
But you think about that, where it's like, were you a Marvel fan before the MCU? That's the thing. We're like that. Well, that's the thing, though. Like, because I think the first thing we ever watched Marvel wise was the Spider-Man movies,
Yeah.
the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. The first one, the second one, those were the only two we really watched. And then the third one came out the same year as... No, that came out in 2007. I'm trying to remember if it came out. Because
I think that's the one I saw in theaters.
I personally like that the third Spider-Man movie.
The
As a kid, obviously,
Wait.
but like now I look back on it, I'm like,
I didn't.
That one?
I
that
owned
one?
it. Like, what is it? I owned it. I just never watched it till I was like 15, 16.
And they're like, why does Venom look like that? Why does he sound so like superfluous?
Oh,
Oh yeah, I can tell you hate Spider-Man as much as I do. I'm like, when you got the Eddie Brock from freaking the Venom movie, you got the Satan is Lord. Little
the
ASMR
Venom in the
Venom for
Venom
you.
movie was so much better than Spider-Man 3 Venom.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's
don't
weird.
think that's
It's
debate.
weird. It's weird trying to do a villain plot based movie. You know what I mean? Because like Venom's the villain of Spider-Man. Venom exists because of Spider-Man, but now they're doing this whole thing that I don't know where they're going with it. But you got the next Venom movie coming out this year, I think.
Is it this year?
I believe it's this year. It's
Will There Be
Venom.
Carnage?
There will be Carnage. So that'll
Oh.
be fun to watch. But anyway, let's talk about the MCU. Right now, like obviously Endgame has happened. You had like 20 plus of these movies have all basically been wrapped up, and now there's like, okay,
22.
is it 22?
Yep.
Was it before Endgame? Like 22 before Endgame, then it's 23 total. and then you have-
22. No, I think Spider-Man is the 22nd.
Where do you
confirm.
where do you go from Endgame though?
You don't.
Like, what do you mean?
Well, here's the thing. Marvel has like more than a dozen like intergalactic villains that they could use as their next big baddie. Because Thanos was a big baddie. You had your whole Infinity War thing, and they're like, let's use Thanos as our first one. But now it's like
Galactus.
you have Galactus. That's one.
There's
Anybody know Kang? Anybody know who Kang is?
Yeah.
I mostly know who Kang is, yeah.
Kang. There's him that I'm thinking of. Have you ever heard of Maestro?
Wisconsin.
Who?
Maestro. Have you ever heard of him?
It's the Hulk.
Yeah.
He is the Hulk, right? I love that timeline where there's either the side where all the Avengers fall and he's the one who takes over, or there's the one where I think he like defeats all of the Avengers and he becomes the mighty, you know, because there's so many different versions of Hulk. You have your angry Hulk, you have the gray Hulk, then you have
Nightmare Hulk.
Nightmare
She-Hulk.
Hulk. You have Smart Hulk, which you saw in Endgame. And you have the
Like a Professor Hulk.
Professor Hulk. That's right. What was his name? But you also have Maestro, who there's a mobile game called Contest of Champions where they had this whole Maestro story. His arm was mechanical, which is why I'm like, wait, Hulk's arm is like crippled because of the gauntlet. What if he gets his metal arm he puts on there and he's like, I'm gonna take over the event, whatever's left of the original Avengers.
Wait, so pretty much Hulk and Winter Soldier combined?
Pretty much.
Give him a vibranium arm and it's over.
Give him a vibranium arm. Yeah, because World War Hulk didn't happen. They kind of teased at that with Thor Ragnarok, but they're like, nah, this is a Thor movie.
Well, I mean, I think there's one of the shows that are coming up is the She-Hulk.
She-Hulk. It's
Really?
yeah. That's the thing. Where we're talking about the future of the MCU, we also have to address all of these new shows that are coming out. Right
Speaking
now,
of like MCU, real quick. Sorry to cut you off.
no, you're good.
But where's the line draw between Phase 3 and Phase 4?
After
my
anything
thing.
after
Far From Home. No, Far From Home
is
was the.
technically Phase 3.
Is it?
Because Wanda.
Yes. It is classified as Phase 3.
What was it? Because I saw this TikTok the other day and it was talking about how, like, where does Black Widow land? Is it the last film for Phase 3 or the first one?
I think it
Because
was
like the
Well-
fact that movie got kicked a
Well,
whole
it's the same thing
year
I
and a half
pushed back.
later. Right.
Yeah, Black Widow is Phase 4.
So it'd be the first movie of Phase 4 instead of the last one of Phase 3.
Yes.
As far
Because
as
it got pushed back here.
as far as movies go, yes, because that's technically the first movie in Phase 4 to come out. Because all these other because now you're having you had WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier are coming out still, and then now you have Loki coming out soon, which a new trailer just dropped today.
I saw that.
I
saw
saw
that.
people are freaking out over the trailer because they're like, oh, Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow is still alive, and it's like it's not her.
Can't be her.
People keep saying it's not her, and it's like we're just gonna have to wait and see because I'm not gonna make any speculations of who it is.
It looked like remember how the remember like in Endgame the pretty much where they get the Soul Stone. It looks like that area that her and Loki are sitting in.
I know
like
it's so weird though because it's like it's not the same haircut or whatever, but obviously that could. But
It's not.
But
It was
wait,
similar. It wasn't her Endgame hair though.
But
no.
the trailer explained that there is a problem with the time space continuum because of he wasn't supposed to pick up the Tesseract. And so he's been sent to this place like this time zone place where they're like, you weren't supposed to pick up that Tesseract. Now we got to fix this timeline, this like branched off timeline that's something screwed over with. So, I mean, technically in this universe that he's in, I don't know if he's in an area beyond time, like Dormammu's domain or whatever, but like
something weird.
Obviously, these are like the Time Watchers who are just like, yeah, someone screwed up the timeline.
Got to fix the timelines.
It wasn't Barry Allen this time, so we got to blame it on the God of Mischief.
It wasn't Flashpoint.
It wasn't Flashpoint.
I think what happened in Endgame, they didn't do a very good job of explaining. Like, what exactly did they create? Parallel universes?
They did.
Did they create? The problem though is no. Here's the thing: in the comics, the Infinity Stones don't work outside of their own universe. So they obviously didn't take Infinity Stones from a different universe. So they couldn't have created a new universe.
No.
Well, maybe
So that's what I think Loki is going to explain: is how it's the same universe, just different branches of that universe.
But
If that makes sense.
It does, but like, there's one thing that got me when I was like going back and rewatching Endgame. So you know how they told Cap before he went to place all the stones exactly where he got them.
Mm-hmm.
But when they picked it up, this what was it? It was in the one of the stones was in the form of Tesseract. One of them was in the form of the blood inside. What was her name?
Oh, the ether.
Oh,
yeah,
it was like a liquid ether going inside. Yeah.
Can't really return the Soul Stone exactly. So my thing is like how they weren't in their original forms. How is it still possible that the timeline didn't rip itself apart almost? Because him just returning the raw stones themselves.
The only timeline that would have been messed up because of the stone being taken out and replaced that would have been messed up is the one where Loki steals the Tesseract. Because all of the other timelines, the stones were put exactly where they were, except for the Tesseract. The Tesseract was changed in the Loki timeline.
But how did he put it back into the Aether though?
Good question. Don't know.
Yeah, because they would have had to have put it back into the scepter. Obviously, just give the Soul Stone back to the Red Skull, whatever. Tesseract, same thing. You got to go back into the bunker in New Jersey where they got it from, and that's going to be awkward.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like you put them exactly where you put them. They're going to be like, "Where's the cube? What is this gem doing here? Is this the same thing?"
Yeah.
Right.
So I think Gerald, like earlier, I remember he talked about how it's like not DC. DC has a better grasp on time travel and different universes than Marvel does. Marvel really made it confusing because their whole explanation on how like changing the past doesn't change the future. It's like, go off the examples. It's like hot tub time machine. This is not, and then they go off, and I'm like, I still don't have a grasp on the understanding of how their time travel works. Where it's like, if you travel to the past, that
past becomes your future, and the current
present becomes the past, which can't now be changed by your new future. So
It makes
Back to the
sense.
Future is a bunch of bullshit.
Precisely.
Can we all agree that Paul Rudd as Ant-Man is just fantastic? Although,
Yes.
Yeah, it's my favorite adventure.
he's just because I like how they went that route rather than the whole Hank Pym as the Ant-Man. Because like all the cartoons, all the stories have been Hank Pym is the main Ant-Man, who then later turns on to be Giant Man, and then you have Janet Van Dyne, who is the Wasp.
Yeah.
And that was the original story. You would see that everywhere, but now it's because like if you
I
look,
like how that he's still the Ant-Man, but he passed it on.
but now
to
he's
Ant-Man.
so old, and I think I like that because it's like, okay, how do we do this and make it new? Because what is it? What am I thinking of? The the Marvel Encyclopedia we have. They have 3 different types of Ant-Man. You have Hank Pym Ant-Man. You have Ant-Man 2, who is Scott Lang, and I don't remember who the third one was.
I don't either.
But that's the thing. It's just like now you look at it, I'm like, wow, Scott Lang, the other Ant-Man, he's now like the most popular Ant-Man now because nobody cares about Hank Pym. He's just kind of over there now.
Yeah.
So
It is what it is. It is what it is.
I do think the original concept for who the villain was supposed to be in Ant-Man, like the first Ant-Man movie, was supposed to be Ultron. Because it was supposed to be.
That wouldn't fit though, would it?
I couldn't see it.
I couldn't see it. I couldn't see it either. But
Sense.
the original story of Ultron was that he was created by both Tony Stark and Hank Pym.
I don't think it was just Hank Pym.
Was it just Hank Pym? It probably was. But then he created Vision to counteract Ultron. So it's like now Hank
It would have
Pym is
made
just
more
made the
sense
Ant-Man.
if maybe Ant-Man came out before Age of Ultron and he ultimately just screwed up so bad.
But
with
Ultron
Hank
Pym did not
that he
want
needs-
anything to do with the Starks because he hated Stark. Everybody hated everybody in their right mind hated Stark, which is weird.
For good reason.
I forgot like Howard Stark for one reason because he was Howard Stark. I'm like, and then you had he was more of a secret agent type connoisseur for secret government agency and stuff, like secret government projects than his son was. Tony was more for himself than anything else. And then when he got involved with government, he didn't really get himself. He refused to get himself involved in government politics until Civil War.
Correct.
When he realized the error of his ways, where it's like, oh yeah, I created Ultron. I need to amend for my mistakes by making these accords. I think we need to get into that debate. What was everybody's stance when the movie first came out for Civil War? Were you Team Cap or were you Team Iron Man?
When the movie first came out, before watching it, it was Team Iron Man.
Iron Man.
I was Team Cap. Oh, we got 2 and 2 right here. Don't change your mind on me, Gerald. All right, I need you on this discussion.
Cap is my favorite. Iron Man can suck a dick.
I don't know. I like Iron Man. His movies, as a whole, been more enjoyable, anyways.
I've never seen Iron Man 2 or 3, so.
I don't know how my opinion can be because I've never seen Civil War, but
You gotta watch Civil War now.
well, I'm working on it. My next one's Ant-Man. I'm getting there.
Because I know
through the movies.
Because Brendan made a list for our sister of the important Marvel movies, and I'm like, I feel like you can't leave a single Marvel movie out.
You really can't. You can't.
Unfortunately. You can give Dark World out.
And the Hulk. You can get rid of that one too.
Unfortunately, you're gonna need Dark World.
But
Damon told me to skip Dark World.
Dark World was good.
He told me it sucks, so skip it.
It wasn't the best.
You can't skip it now because it's the only movie that mentions the Aether. Like, it's the only movie that has the Aether in it. They don't bring it up until Infinity War. That's it.
Skip it.
I'm sorry I had you skip it, but that movie is just...
Why would you? Any movie that introduces an Infinity Stone needs to be in any order.
Right.
Any film order that you watch it in.
So you have...
Dark World is one of those movies.
Well, you have Captain America Captain America the First Avenger. You have to watch that. You have to watch.
Yeah.
That's the thing, though. You have to watch these movies. Like, you have to watch the first Iron
Just
Man
don't
movie
watch
at least.
all of them.
Maybe not the second movie. You maybe
Iron
don't
Man
have
3
to watch the
doesn't
second
either.
movie.
Well, they all have important bits.
Iron Man 3 doesn't.
I guarantee it has one little thing
Oh,
that
yeah.
helps somewhere in the rest of the universe.
I think you're right.
like
I think.
5 months I watched the
Do
movie.
you need to watch Iron Man 3? Other than the fact that it explains why he no longer needs the arc reactor in his chest. That's really it. He gets he gets it surgically removed and he's fine.
Yeah.
That's really
I
it.
think it's important for his character development
Yeah.
because it's like his fear of other things in the universe manifests in the rest of the movies.
Yeah.
Right,
and
you have Age of Ultron.
You see him struggling with what happened in Avengers.
Was it mostly
And-
Scarlet Witch giving him that idea, or was it his own?
He
Was it his own decision?
So he already had the fear was already there. Scarlet Witch just showed him what his fear will lead to.
Or amplified it.
Yeah, one of the two.
Better visualize it.
It says here's the path I started this on. He says that in Ultron, and it's true. He understands that this is something he started.
Yeah. So what is it? I was rewatching Age of Ultron recently. So I was rewatching it again, and I realized something. You know the fight between Vision and Ultron?
It's the
The
same.
first clash?
You said it was the same one as the one.
It looks almost the same as Vision versus Vision in WandaVision. Where they're
it's all
clashing
full
heads, fighting, then talking, and then fighting again.
That was
You could see the same thing when she dropped down and started crying.
Yeah.
that was the theory though, was that this new Vision would end up being Ultron.
I
And
like that theory.
I
We
like
can
that.
get
I
it.
love the idea of Ultron coming back because I think he was underused and underwhelming compared to how the comics portrayed him. And obviously, I don't want to be like, oh yeah, Ultron should be the way he is in the comics because he like could practically
He
be
was-
Thanos with his bare hands because he can absorb the stones and then he can do whatever with it, and it's just like, oh.
Didn't in one of the comics he kill all the Avengers, but I think Iron Man and the Hulk?
I think he had a soft spot for his creators, even though he wanted to
Yeah.
kill.
Them.
I think that's a very interesting.
I would like to see Ultron back. It would be cool. I hate how he was just this intermediate villain before Thanos.
I had at the time, this is when I watched the show Blacklist, which had James Spader in it, and I was just obsessed with James Spader because I love his voice, I love his tone, I love how he acts, and I loved him in Age of Ultron. I loved him as Ultron because now I can't picture anybody else doing it unless they had some intimidating like robotic voice. He definitely had that like sarcastic, like he kind of joked around. He made a lot of biblical references, but when the earth starts to settle, God throws a stone at it, and believe me, he's winding up.
Yeah.
That's a movie I can quote.
He may be your father, boy, but he's not your daddy.
Your daddy.
There's so many. There are so many moments, and okay, now that we're okay, let me get to volume 2 later. But like, the whole thing with like you have all these fan theories because Brendan made a video about this on his YouTube
I
channel.
made a YouTube video about it. Hate it.
It's like check out the video. He talks about all the fan theories, how they ruin. I think the problem is. I think the problem is it's like you can. It's easier to do these about movies because it's just a one and done. But with shows, you have episodes coming out weekly. You can start being like, oh yeah, I'm getting context clues about what's going to happen in the next episode. And then it doesn't happen. And people get disappointed at the ending. And I'm like, there was nothing truly wrong with WandaVision. Okay, the only thing I don't like is the huge Ralph Boner joke. You teased me about Evan Peters playing the Quicksilver, like trying to bring in this X-Men type stuff, only to make a boner joke towards the end. I think that was kind of a tease. But I hate what they did with that. Yeah. That's just me though, because it's like, okay,
anyway,
it wasn't about bringing Quicksilver and trying to get the X-Men into the MCU. It was just a matter of it was Wanda figuring out It was her story about becoming the Scarlet Witch. So basically, any movie with the Scarlet Witch in it was just a prologue to her story.
Yeah.
Now she's the Scarlet Witch, and now it's like, ooh, she's gonna have power. And apparently, I heard that her and Doctor Strange are gonna get into a fight, and I'm gonna be like,
Oh. Chef's kiss.
that's gonna be an awesome fight scene.
What is? So, remember how you said there was not really many flaws in WandaVision?
You could say there are.
I had one big one.
What is that?
Agatha.
It's been Agatha all along.
They kind of just like threw her in there without any without nothing. Just threw her in immediately. There was no build up. It was just throw her in, fight, gone.
What? Are you kidding me? You could probably suspect that she was up to something after the third episode.
I'm saying
She
there
was
was some
definitely sus. There was build up.
But the way it ended up, it was just, we're gonna fight real quick. I'm gonna torture your kids. I'm gonna fight, and then that's it, gone. It should have been like, I feel like there should have been more.
Do you wish there would have been like another episode in between
Yeah.
of like more of like what she can do?
Yeah. Because it was just kind of, you can do this now too. Oh, I'm stronger than you. I'm stronger than you too. And it was like, okay, there's no point. It was just blindless fighting that made really no sense.
So that I can agree to on a certain level, because like what I meant by like there's not a real the what I was talking about with fan theories, they kind of ruined the point of WandaVision. WandaVision was not to introduce these huge scale Marvel characters that we've already seen before, or even new ones. It was just about Wanda coping with the loss of Vision. And then it's like, oh yeah, Vision's gone, but there's another Vision out there, which we don't know what's going to happen to that Vision.
He might pop up in the new Doctor Strange movie.
Maybe.
Do you think she was defeated?
Or the Armor Wars show.
I don't think she knows that where the other Vision is. I don't even think she's looking for him now.
Because it looked like she probably just assumed her version of Vision just took care of it. That she has no idea what happened.
Right. He got like Vision didn't the fake illusion Vision didn't make her aware.
The Westview Vision.
I do wish to see the return of the two kids.
Oh, they'll be back.
What were their name? What were their superhero names again? It's
Wiccan and Speed.
You said Wiccan or Wicket?
Wiccan, like
Wiccan.
Wiccan.
Wiccan and
Speed.
Speed. Okay. He's basically a mini Quicksilver.
They'll be back. As of right now, all of the Young Avengers have been introduced, so they'll be back.
You're right. I assume that Gerald and Bailey have seen the second episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you saw what was his name? Isaiah?
Yeah.
Yeah, at the very end.
Yeah.
When he threw
the tin.
like the Mentos tin thing into the wall.
Yeah. His grandson, who you see open the door, right, is supposed to be, what's his superhero name?
Patriot.
Patriot. Yeah. Okay. Because doesn't he also have he's the super soldier blood, but not the serum.
Yeah. Right.
It flows through his veins.
Yeah, when he like in the comics, then he end up using like the metahuman like supplements, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So then I'm gonna raise another question. Since obviously the show's still going on, I think it's got another 3 episodes before it stops.
That is correct.
Really?
Yep.
It's 6 episode series.
It's gonna be one. It's only gonna be one season 2 as well.
I believe so.
As far as I know, yes.
It's the fact that's like I don't see how they can do another. I mean, they could, but I don't see how they would. But yeah,
not if they don't need to.
But who would you rather see with the Shield?
Between who?
Between Bucky and Falcon. Because there are comic versions where both of them are Captain America, where either one of them could be Captain America. And obviously it's leaning more towards Falcon becoming Captain America because he was the one who inherited the shield.
Yeah.
And obviously maybe that's what it's leaning towards too, but it's like obviously people are like, oh my gosh, Sam, why on earth would you give it up?
I think Bucky should. Bucky deserves it more Because Falcon, the Cap gave it to Falcon, but Falcon just gave it away. I feel like that's something you shouldn't just give away willy nilly like that.
Yeah.
Falcon gave it away because he knows that the United States isn't ready for a black Captain America. Because no, I'm serious. I'm dead serious. I'm not because you saw what happened to Isaiah.
Yeah,
He got experimented on. He was thrown in prison. He understands
that was more the reason because he had the
wasn't-
super soldier serum was that, and that was like I could
That didn't happen. Captain America didn't go through that. They didn't put him in a lab and they didn't throw him in prison.
You're
kind of died.
You're right, and this was definitely like they used him as a super soldier during like the Cold War against the Winter Soldier. So this was like
Cold War. That was World War II.
It was
Well,
the Korean War.
no. Captain America was World War II.
Yeah.
Captain
Oh yeah.
Bucky
okay.
was
Isaiah was Korean War.
Yep, I messed up. My bad.
It's just
So the reason I'll say Falcon should get it because of one important point that Dr. Erskine made back when he was giving it to Steve Rogers, is he would rather give it to a good man than a perfect soldier. And right before he gives, he goes and returns all the Infinity Stones. He turns to Sam and says, "You're a good man. You're a good man, Sam." He says that, and I think that he understands that Bucky is the perfect soldier, but Sam is a good man, and he'd rather give it to a good man than a perfect soldier. And that's why I think that Falcon deserves the shield.
That makes sense.
that does make sense. But in terms of like, because obviously Bucky's butthurt about Sam giving up the shield, right?
Yeah.
It's
I mean, I would
just,
too.
Right.
I was like, well, because it's like, yeah, my best friend, this guy who saved me,
The one
gave you,
when nobody else believed in me, gave you the shield. Yeah.
but that was the thing though. That was the whole thing where it's like, everything special about you came out of a bottle type thing. Like that was the whole like, okay, now it's like, are you who you are because of this shield? Like, because Steve Rogers, like obviously Captain America, Steve Rogers didn't need the shield. He had an Endgame. He had Mjolnir. He was getting like destroyed while having the shield because his shield was getting shredded by. I want to know what the material of that sword is. First of all, I want to know what's strong enough to literally cut through vibranium.
Adamantium, maybe.
Adamantium armor.
So this Canadian Spartan, who is a new follower, by the way, thank you for following, he says, didn't they say Chris Evans was coming back so they could, in theory, screw shit up like X-Men?
Who knows? I think what I want to see is a 6-part series with Chris Evans as Captain America going back and returning all the Infinity Stones.
I don't care about anything else. The only thing I want to see is an MCU-related like video of Captain America interacting with the Red Skull. Giving back the Soul Stone. Yes, giving back the Soul Stone. Like, what do you think happened there?
Nothing happened because think about it, Red Skull didn't have any of his memories. So even if
no, he had his memories.
Did he?
Yeah, because he said a lifetime ago, I too sought the stones. I even held one in my hand, and he's referring to the Tesseract. But it cast me out, banished me here. It sent him through space, and he sent him to guard the Soul Stone for all eternity. Well, he got. I mean, he gained immortality basically, but
I feel like there wouldn't be an interaction. Like there really couldn't be.
I feel like if we're gonna think about Steve Rogers in this case, because everybody's reaction was like cautious, like Black Widow and Hawkeye, they were both like a big Dementor comes flying towards them, and they all point there. He points his arrow. He's got his she's got her whatever out trying to defend themselves. So obviously there's going to be some caution there, but he especially is going to have some concern. But I feel like he'll get past that. Just to be like, well, here's the stone. Bye. Let me teleport to wherever the next place is. Where do you think the last place he visited was? Where did he start? What was the order of the stones he delivered? Where did he go
Space.
easiest to hardest?
He space because he knew where it was.
Right, space. He knew where that was. Well, he didn't. He wasn't the one who grabbed the space stone. He wasn't the one who grabbed the space stone because I don't know. Because what was his? Oh, his mission was to get the PIM particles. That's right.
Where was the space stone?
It was
the New Jersey air or military base.
That's right, wasn't it?
If you remember in Winter Soldier, there was a secret bunker that wasn't supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Because they left all the the munitions, most of those supplies out like far away from the base, like far away from the training camp. But it's like, what do you do with a bunker here? It's like, oh, it's out in plain sight. So they go down, and bam, the Tesseract is somehow there. And I like how Howard Stark was looking for Arnim Zola because I'm guessing he was still alive by that time.
Yeah.
I need to rewatch. I don't think I finished the Peggy Carter, the Agent Carter series. I don't remember finishing that.
Oh, you must.
Because I don't.
There's not too much revealed in terms of MCU, grandeur.
It was basically the start of S.H.I.E.L.D. Because you had Howard Stark was in it, Peggy Carter, all that jazz.
At that point, it was the Strategic Scientific Reserve.
Right, exactly. Because this was kind of like an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. spinoff. Because that whole show was like weird though, if you think about it. The Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show, if anybody
I think it's been
watched
officially decanonized.
Have they really gone that far off the rails to decanonize it?
Yeah.
Because originally, the first couple of seasons were lined up with the movies. Yeah. Like when the Winter Soldier happened and Hydra was revealed to the world, it screwed up Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Where it's like most of the main characters were Hydra agents, secretly, and it screwed up the whole dynamic. The Inhumans, they started introducing Inhumans. Then they had that whole Inhuman spin-off. I don't know if that's canon. Nobody liked the Inhumans show that came out because it was just kind of
I think they've decanonized the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Inhumans, and I think all of the Netflix Marvel shows as well.
That's what sucks. I love those shows, except Iron Fist. Iron Fist, I didn't like what they did with him. But
didn't remember the show Cloak and Dagger?
I did.
Yeah.
I watched a few episodes. I wanted to get into it, but I just
was that another Netflix?
No, it was an ABC one.
It was an ABC. Okay.
It was an ABC one.
Another ABC one.
What was the significance of that? What was it supposed to be?
Another.
Because I 3 episodes in and forgot about it.
Yeah, that's the same thing happened to me.
You tell me we watched it. I don't remember the show at all.
It had one of those Disney Channel girls on it, and
oh yeah, I don't remember her name. I know who you're talking about.
Roxxon, her dad died because of a Roxxon accident, so it had connections to the.
Roxxon is another one of those super agencies like AIM. Not as not like Hydra. AIM was kind of AIM, they only mentioned AIM once throughout the entire MCU, and that's Iron Man 3. But
yeah,
it was just this weird underground funding organization.
Right.
And
I think they'll come back at some point.
I hope so, because AIM, there's so much you can do with AIM, because you have MODOK, but I don't know how they do MODOK in the MCU. I swear in this last episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I thought they made it's Langley, right? Dr. Langley? What? The doctor who turns into MODOK. I don't remember his name. Because he's the villain in the Avengers video game, right? I was trying to remember the name, and I'm I swear I heard it in the last episode. I'm But it's no, it can't be the guy who made the serum because he absolutely hates superheroes. MODOK, what does MODOK stand for again?
Sure, I got it up. Um,
I don't remember what MODOK stood for.
so there's multiple.
Is there multiple? I don't remember what they did for
Let me
the
figure it out.
Avengers
Okay.
game then.
It's either metal, mobile, or mechanized organism designed only for killing.
Oh, but what was the name? Like the other
his name?
The other alias. The true alias, should I say?
George Tarleton.
Tarleton. Okay, I don't know where I got Langley from. Who is Langley? Okay, I'm not gonna let that bother me because I'm like, who is Langley? Where did Langley come from?
I'll look it up.
I'm like, where did Langley come from? Why did I hear that?
Why? Where did it come from?
Where did Langley come from? I'm like, Langley? I'm like, no. What the heck?
Well, anyway, I think there's a show coming out, like in May.
The MODOK show on Hulu. It's like stop motion animation.
I haven't seen that
It's being voiced by the guy who did Remy and Ratatouille.
Didn't know that.
Have you seen the trailer for it?
I haven't seen it yet.
It's definitely like it's more of a comedy than anything.
Well,
especially if it's in like the Robot Chicken format.
Langley down.
What?
Oh, Mark Langley.
Who's Mark Langley? Why does that sound familiar?
Give me 1 second. He's a scientist. He's from Earth 616.
Okay, that's everybody.
So
Attracting the hostile attention of Goom on Planet X, Mark Langley realizes that any civilization possessing such advanced technology must be benevolent in his radio transmissions. Something about Planet X.
okay, so I have no idea where I got Langley from.
Yeah, what the hell?
Where did that come from? It just popped in my head, and it has nothing to do with what we're talking about. It was just me thinking it was MODOK, but it was Charlton. I think it was Carlton. But Jiminy Christmas. Gosh, why did we get to MODOK? We don't care about MODOK.
Not yet, at least. It's a good question. How did we get to MODOK?
I don't know. I was just thinking of the Avengers video game, but like I can get into that as because I heard they obviously they're updating it now so that the game is better. You need a strong enough PC to play it. I swear. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Like,
Get a better PC.
That's the other thing. I'm like, if you're going
to
get a PS5, I'd recommend playing it. I thought I was like, maybe you should play it on console because I'm like, maybe I would have had a better experience with lag and graphics. Like, my game slowed down with how much it was trying to comprehend the amount of graphics there were. Like, I think the gameplay was fine, but like the kind of game it was like they had factions. You had to take over certain like areas and whatnot, and it's just like,
Yeah.
like it felt like playing Warframe or Destiny, but it was the Avengers. and now they're adding more characters. They added 2 versions of Hawkeye. You have Clint Barton Hawkeye, and then you have his daughter.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
They're now going to add T'Challa, Black Panther, into it soon. They're adding all these DLCs now, and I'm like, I just stopped. Like, I beat the story because I'm like, I feel like I need to beat the story, but like, I just stopped playing it because I'm like, the game's not terrible. It's just not good. It's just underwhelming for what the hype was, because everybody's going to get this game because it's an Avengers game. It's the Avengers. It's a Marvel game. But I think people were already skeptical about it because of the way it looked.
The reveal was really good too, though.
I like the reveal, though. I just didn't... Me, personally, I didn't like how Captain America looked. He looked like he was wearing a SWAT suit with stars and stripes. Because I just like, and then they had all these other skins to go with it that make it. They're gonna add MCU skins that you have to pay for eventually.
Yeah.
But then they have all these additions to it. As I said, it's like playing Destiny, but with the Avengers, because they have like each individual character. You can level each individual character up. They have their own character tree and whatever. But like, yeah, you have that. I think out of any video game that Marvel has been a part of, I miss the older Marvel versus Capcom games.
Yes.
With the fighting games?
The fighting games, because it's Marvel versus Capcom, but I hate what they did in the recent game they made, which was
one?
Marvel versus Capcom Infinite.
How about the stones?
The whole Infinity, that was an interesting concept, but I hate how much of the roster they took out. So none of the X-Men were in it because this was now it's owned by Disney, so it's they only want to use the MCU likeness of, even though they added Ghost Rider, which I don't think was owned by Paramount. I don't know who did Ghost Rider. But basically any Marvel character that was owned by Paramount was given to Disney. But yeah, that game was just it even looked awful.
My favorite was number 3.
3 was good. The game I remember the most was the second one.
Second one was good. I
did like the second one. And then obviously you have the arcade games and stuff like that. They don't make a lot of they don't make a whole lot of Marvel based games anymore. Obviously the one they focus on is the Spider-Man. They're now doing that. But that's right. They're only adding Spider-Man to the PlayStation version of Avengers.
Really?
Yeah, because it's Sony. Sony owns Spider-Man, so they're only putting Spider-Man on anyone who owns a PlayStation. It's kind of lame. But that's the other thing. I can get into the whole thing where, Call of Duty did the whole not outbreak thing. The Onslaught. It's PlayStation only. You can choose any map within the game as a zombies map. But it's only on PlayStation. And they have yet to add it to...
It's not getting released till later this year.
Yeah, that's the thing though, because Sony can do whatever they want with Spider-Man.
Sony's a brick.
They can do whatever they want. If they want to make exclusives, they can make exclusives, and Spider-Man. They hold on so tightly.
I think
it's their child.
IPs.
Yeah, I want to talk about more of that in the next Marvel episode. After our little intermission, I want to talk mostly about Spider-Man, but because I feel like we can definitely get a good hour out of just Spider-Man alone. Maybe we'll talk about Spider-Man and Stan Lee, because we haven't even mentioned the Masters of Cameo himself yet, even though that he made Marvel. But we'll get into that later. Let us think about the future of the MCU now.
One question.
What was that?
So, in your guys' opinion, who do you think they should add to the new, I guess, quote unquote, Avengers now? Who do you think they should add out of all the original comic characters?
Moon Knight.
Who do you want them to know?
I want Moon Knight.
Supernova.
Nova. Yes, I would love to see Nova.
Yeah.
I'm
waiting for him.
I want to see. I want to see the Defenders.
Moonlight has been
Moon Knight. Has he been introduced?
Who's Moon Knight?
He's gonna have a show. I think
he's gonna have. Moon Knight is basically the Batman of Marvel.
Oh, him.
He's white cloaked. He's got a staff. He's basically Robin and Batman put together, but he's for Marvel.
Yeah.
I think he's definitely a vigilante as far as I know. I'd love to see some of the Defenders, but I'd like to see better versions. Although I think the Netflix version of Daredevil was probably the best version of Daredevil in my opinion, because he was so gruesome.
I didn't like the Netflix show. I watched the first season and I just hated it.
I think the second season was much better. They added Punisher to it. Punisher was part of those Netflix series, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I didn't like how they portrayed Punisher.
Not
to be
at all.
honest, no.
It was more with Punisher. It was more run and gun. That's it.
Yeah, really. I wanted more of an intimidating Punisher, but
oh, here we go.
What do you got?
Who's gonna play Moon Knight?
Who's gonna play Moon Knight?
Oscar Isaac.
Really?
Who?
Oscar Isaac. He was Poe Dameron in the new Star Wars sequels. He was Apocalypse. He was Apocalypse in X-Men Apocalypse. I can't say anything. I can't say anything else. I don't hate the guy. I think he's pretty cool. He can do whatever.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. I don't know how they're gonna. Like people were like, let's get Keanu Reeves into the MCU somehow.
No.
I know you don't like Keanu Reeves, but like
I love Keanu Reeves.
maybe Keanu Reeves is being overused now because of his growing popularity.
Yeah,
I feel the same way. I feel the same way about Tom Holland though, because of he's being put into everything now.
I think Tom Holland's one of the better Spider-Mans, though. To be honest,
I would agree, but like
himself, not like I'm saying, like the balance between he's a teen in high school and stuff.
right.
I think out of all of them, he's the best one in that aspect.
They do like because I know they're making him Nathan Drake in the new Uncharted movie.
I think that's stupid.
It's a young Nathan Drake. I mean, who knows? Maybe it will be pretty good. It's Tom Holland. People are gonna go watch it because it's Tom Holland. Even non-video game fans are gonna watch it because it's Tom Holland. They'll watch anything if it's Tom Holland. But what else is coming out? We talked about the She-Hulk. There's the one MCU movie I'm looking forward to the most is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness because so much can happen in that movie. I gotta keep my expectations to a minimum so I'm not disappointed with what happens in that movie because I feel like we're like all this stuff is gonna happen, all the Spider-Mans are gonna be in that movie, people are like all these rumors and theories that are coming out and all that, like people are saying that, but is that going to happen?
I'm just excited to see more Scarlet Witch.
We just have to wait.
We love to see Elizabeth Olsen in action.
Only people in the world that know what's going on in those movies are the people who are making it.
Right.
What is it?
So they don't
That's all we need to know.
That's all we need to know.
What is
That's
it?
all we can think.
I didn't know like Elizabeth Olsen was one of the Olsen sisters.
She's
I
actually
didn't know
actually the younger of the Olsen sisters.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Like,
Which
taller by, like, 4
she
inches.
looks older than the Olsen twins.
The other ones look like crack addicts.
She looks like
Yeah.
what like
I think they
Michelle
were.
Pfeiffer does.
That's why they couldn't be in Fuller House because they didn't look like each other anymore.
No.
Oh, they tried to get Elizabeth Olsen to take her place.
That would have been funny. That would have been great.
Real funny.
I think that would have been great. I think they should have gone
I feel
with
like out
that.
of respect for her sisters, I think that she didn't.
Well, like I saw a lot of stuff saying that she waited to be like to act for so long so she wouldn't be Mary-Kate and Ashley's sister. She could be Elizabeth Olsen.
Yeah.
And she is Elizabeth Olsen.
She's
That's why
And
she's called-
Mary-Kate and Ashley are Elizabeth Olsen's sister.
Basically.
Yeah, not the other way around.
not the other way around.
Oh, Mary-Kate and Ashley? Yeah, they're that's Elizabeth Olsen's sisters.
So like, Mary-Kate and Ashley who?
I basically just repeated what we were just talking about. Anyway,
but
Anyway.
yeah, they're again rebooting the Fantastic Four, and now they're putting it into the MCU.
Again.
Well,
Okay,
maybe now that it is in better hands, now that Kevin Feige
Correct.
now has his children, more children to bear, he now has the Fantastic Four, which I think personally are classic Marvel characters.
yeah.
Shouldn't
You
they
have to
add
do 'em.
X-Men into it then? I think.
Is what?
Shouldn't they add X-Men into it then? Because I know a lot of Fantastic Four had a lot of like I guess things with X-Men.
Well,
so-
maybe that's when they'll start like throwing some guys in. Like maybe he'll talk about the telepathic friend that he had.
They wanted to get Daniel Radcliffe to play Wolverine.
What?
Have you seen that? Okay, Boss Logic. I will give this man a shout out because we love Boss
awesome.
Logic. He's a great person with Photoshop and basically a great graphic designer. Something I strive to be, but he did this where he made Daniel Radcliffe look like the Wolverine. I'm looking at it. I'm like, I just see a very hairy Harry Potter.
That's what we should
I see
do.
a Harry Potter.
That's where you gotta drop Keanu Reeves into. Is the
I don't see him
Wolverine
as Wolverine either. I think he's too
Wolverine.
role. Who else would you
old.
get other than Hugh Jackman? Because I think Hugh Jackman is done. with
Hugh
that
Jackman has sold the live action role because obviously he's the first. It's like saying you can't replace. If you were to reboot the MCU like 50 years down the road, you're like, no one can ever replace RDJ, and it's just like, well, by this time, RDJ is dead. So,
well, that's a different scenario because by that point,
everything would have been.
All of these MCUs are classics now, and
they would be vintage.
They can do whatever they.
Movie history, the MCU made movie cinematic history. Now everybody's trying to copy the MCU.
Yeah.
Like you have DC tried to do it, failed miserably when trying to do it because they rushed it. Now you have because like nobody thought about having more than 3 movies for a trilogy.
I can tell you why on the next week's thing.
Why
I know
is that?
exactly why. I know. I can't tell you.
Oh, you're gonna do a cliffhanger like that? We still got 4 minutes.
I'm gonna wait. No, we're talking about it in the DC one.
Oh, you want to talk? You want to talk about it in the DC one?
Oh yeah.
We'll definitely rant about the DCU next week when we talk about DC. But what was I saying about other movies that have tried to do an MCU thing? The Kong and Godzilla movies. There was an end credit scene in Kong that introduced all the Titans. They're like, there are other beings like Kong out there, and they did Mothra, Godzilla, Ghidorah, and all that stuff. And it's just like, are they really doing a Titan cinematic universe, a TCU?
TCU.
TC. You have that, but like,
You want to talk about another failed cinematic universe?
What was that?
Universal's MonsterVerse.
They had a Dracula movie.
The Mummy movie was like the pilot, like the beginning.
Yeah, but
that
sucked.
one with Tom Cruise. It was awful. That's why it never kicked off. That's why the MonsterVerse is like yesterday's news.
Tom Cruise is the most. Yeah, there was a Mummy movie with Tom Cruise in it. See, I missed the Mummy movie with Brandon Fraser in it. That was the Mummy movie. I'm sorry, you cannot like come back with a better Mummy movie than that. I don't know if they were related. I wish they were, but they're not. It's a completely different Mummy movie. And you put Tom Cruise in it. He's in way too many action movies. Stick to Mission Impossible or like, I don't know.
Even the Mission Impossible movies are too much.
They're milking that franchise.
What is it? I feel like with Tom Cruise, he's in the same role every time, the same thing. I gotta go save this, I gotta do this, the exact same thing every single movie he's in now.
Yep.
You know they can't advertise, well not advertise, but they can't. How do I say this? They can't make a product of Tom Cruise. So you notice how you never see like action figures of Tom Cruise. You never see like, because he doesn't want to be. He can like, you can advertise the movie, that's it, with posters and trailers, that's it. You can't. No, he doesn't like being merchandised, I think is what it is. You can't put him in video games. You can't put him in like spin-offs or they did a weird Family Guy skit because apparently Tom Cruise is short. They make fun of him of how short he is, which is like, I'm like, yeah, right. I think. Yeah, that's what I call going off the rails, where we start talking about Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise and how short he is.
I remember that one image of like the if the MCU came out in the 90s, where Tom Cruise would have been Tony Stark,
Iron Man.
Yeah. Like Keanu Reeves would have been who he was gonna be Doctor Strange.
And I can see that.
He would have been Doctor Strange. What's his face? Brad Pitt would have been Thor. It's like, I can see that, but like, this is if it came out in the 90s, but now where we got all these lovely people going on.
Yeah. Way better than those actors, no offense.
Right. Okay. We are reaching the top of the hour. I'm going to set us up for the next episode. So stay tuned for the next episode, because I'm going to say we're going to talk about Spider-Man, who's our favorite Spider-Man movie. Overrated, underrated Spider-Man? I don't know. To Spider-Man, we may talk a little bit more about the MCU, but in terms of Spider-Man, but I think Spider-Man's going to be I could just call this next episode, Spider-Man. Just so I'm not doing a Marvel Part 1 or Part 2. It's just
Spider-Man.
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 But yeah, so you'll get our thoughts on Spider-Man on the next episode. So stay tuned for that.